What's up everyone, Coach Joe here, Paragon Performance, and in today's video I'll be teaching you 3 ways that you can overcome emotional eating. Now, emotional eating are eating patterns that are brought on to us by things like stress, hormonal changes, mixed hunger cues, and even social factors. You may have dealt with emotional eating yourself or know somebody who has. I know personally this is something that I've struggled with for a long time, and the things we're going to cover today are going to help immensely in starting to build awareness and overcome emotional eating because they can be very destructive habits. Emotional eating can lead to things like increased stress levels, weight gain, psychological and even physical harm just by the sheer fact that you're taking in excess calories which you don't need in the first place. So what we're going to do now is we're going to dive into 3 things that you can do to help overcome the emotional eating. Number 1, we want to give yourself permission to actually perform the act of emotional eating. I know this sounds a little counterintuitive, right? I'm trying to get rid of the emotional eating, so why would I do that in the first place? But the key is we want to build awareness as to why you are having this emotional eating episode. So what I encourage you to do is next time you find yourself just sort of snacking or eating and you're not quite sure why you're even eating, not even be hungry, is to stop and give yourself permission to reach for that thing, eat it, and begin to feel why you want to eat that food. If it's junk food or what have you, start to think about, okay, why am I eating this? What's causing this? And you might be surprised as to why you're reaching for that food. It could be a Sunday night and you have the Monday blues coming on because you have work coming up. It could be the anticipation of a phone call you have to make that you don't want to, so you're reaching for food instead to help comfort you. But you will never know what's causing that if you don't stop and build that awareness while it's happening in the moment. So the first trick would be to give yourself permission to actually eat that food with knowing in the back of your mind you're doing it with respect to trying to figure out why you're having this reaction in the first place and identifying that. The second piece of advice would be to build what I like to call a nourishment menu. So rather than reaching for food when you start to have this emotional episode, say, to comfort yourself, we want to have a few things in place, a menu, if you will, that you can pick from, just other activities that are going to help you to redirect this energy. So rather than reach for food to comfort you, maybe you replace that with something like breathing techniques or meditation, stretching, just general exercise, maybe going for a walk. Maybe you just stop and journal, right? So something that's been very successful for some of our clients we worked with are actual eating journals. So they'll stop when they feel like they're going to start to eat, have like an emotional eating episode. And they'll just journal like how they're feeling, what time of day it was, what day of the week. Maybe if it's like on a Monday or a Tuesday versus a Friday, because I know the weekend's coming, maybe they're not as stressed. So being able to have these go-to activities to redirect the energy from an emotional eating occurrence to something that's a bit more productive and helping you redirect that and get you off of that initial reaction with the emotional eating. And number 3 would be to perform what we like to call a kitchen makeover. So if you don't even have the food in the house to begin with, you are less likely to eat it in the first place. Coach Daisy likes to use the term creating friction, which I think is fantastic. You want to create a lot of friction between you and these junk foods you could reach for versus foods that are good for you. You want to reduce the friction for the good things and increase the friction for the bad things. So what do we mean by that? So if you have, let's say in your pantry, you have a lot of snacks and junk food, it's very easily accessible, right? There's no friction between you and those junk food items or just things you shouldn't be having, right? Where if you have no vegetables in your house, there's a lot of friction between you and those vegetables because you have to get dressed, get in your car, drive to the store, buy the vegetables, spend the money, drive home, put it in your fridge, chop them up, make a salad, right? So what we want to do is kind of flip that around. We want to make sure that you have the junk food out of your house, create a lot of friction between you and that junk food, and create very little friction between you and that healthy food. So maybe instead you have a bowl of fruit out on the counter so you can just reach for that really quick. Maybe you have a big bowl of salad just in the fridge that you can pull from whenever you want and just reduce the friction between you and the good food, increase the friction between you and the bad food that you might reach for to comfort yourself during this sort of stress eating or emotional eating. Now the point is you might reach for that food and feel like, you know what, that's not that exciting. I don't want to eat it in the first place. And the good thing here is it's going to help to slow you down and understand that this food is not really necessary to intake right now and help you build awareness. So I hope these tips helped you today. Really, the big thing you want to try and do when it comes to emotional eating is begin to build that awareness. Understand why this is happening in the first place, and it might be something you are not even sure would cause in the first place. So being able to slow down, recognize the event is happening, and start to pinpoint what the cause is, because it's not the food that's the problem. You're using the food as a solution to a problem. So let's identify the problem, isolate it, redirect the energy, and be able to compartmentalize it and handle it accordingly rather than resorting to food to handle it instead. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up, comment below with any other topics you want us to cover, and make sure you subscribe so you never miss a video, and we'll see you all in the next one.